and welcome everybody. Come on in and have a seat at the bar. I'm your photo happy hour bartender, Michael Mowbray. And today I am mixing up a fancy cocktail called the Aviation. I wonder what's in it. Made surprisingly with Aviation Gin, the choice of podcasters, photographers, and all people who are in favor of world peace. Aviation Gin, please sponsor our podcast. So, also joining me today are Dan Frievalt and Carl Kaler.
Hello, aviation crowd. Glad you're here.
Howdy, howdy.
You know, I love Aviation Gin and Canadians, both.
So aviation is Canadian? Is that a Ryan Reynolds
That's a Ryan Reynolds
drink?
thing, yeah. Yeah, and I'm going to give them a call on my Mint mobile phone right now.
Oh. Tell them I said hi.
Tell them I like them in Deadpool.
Hey, have you guys seen the new, I think it was made just for Netflix only, called Red
Oh,
Notice?
Red. No, I have it on my list to watch, but I keep falling
It's
asleep
good.
at night. So, yeah, it
It's
looks good.
I mean, for like a movie, like a theater release, yeah, it's good. For direct to like a streaming service, yeah, service. It's really good. So compared to a lot of the other stuff I've seen, so
Cool.
yeah, it's like
Cool.
nice. So before I forget, the Photo Happy Hour is sponsored in part by Red Curl Creative, copywriting
our
services
actual
for
sponsor.
photographers and wedding professionals. Yes, actual sponsor. Kim from Red Curl Creative speaks your language. Save $97 on Kim's Write Better Words course when you use the discount code Happy Hour, and that's at writebetterwords.com. All right. So what are you guys drinking today, other than Aviation Gin?
Well, I have a Cabernet from California. I'm been kind of hooked on Cabernets lately. I think it's the weather. I need something a little bit more robust. You know? Yeah.
Once it gets
Snowy
to be like
and cold.
November, December, it's like Cabernets, Syrahs,
Yes.
Zinfandels,
Malbecs,
things like that.
Zinfandels.
Malbecs,
Something
yep.
chewy.
Ex-
Something
Exactly.
stick to your ribs.
Yeah, something you can drink
Chewy.
with a fork.
Something jammy.
Jammy. Yes.
I'm sorry
Carl?
to say I'm not drinking anything right now. I was running late at a session that ended up being a newborn that ended up being 5 generation with and without the girlfriend because they're not married, and then with grandma, and then with brothers, and then with brother and his girlfriend, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, it went on forever. And they're going to say, I just want to buy a 5x7. But no, they won't. I think we're going to end up, in my mind, I'm thinking albums. So I wasn't even thinking drinks. But now that I'm home, when we get done with this, I'm having whiskey. Just saying.
That's when you pull out the contract. Like, can we add that on? Yes. But
Absolutely.
here's
Sign
your
right
minimum
here.
purchase right here. Sign right here.
Yeah. We'll get back to that, but that was kind of my segue into what we're going to talk about today. But we need to know what you're drinking there, Michael.
Oh, I am. I had an Aviation Gin, and then now I'm having a Johnny Walker Double Black Chaser.
Because I was late and you had to drink something else.
Right, I ran out of booze, so I had to
Ran out of booze
else.
waiting for Carl to show up.
My bad. I'm
Like,
sorry.
Isn't he the one who said 4:30?
Yeah.
Had
Checking.
no,
Yeah, it was
no
Carl.
clue it would take us this darn long.
Yes.
That's right.
So,
Everyone's happy, even great grandma with dementia.
So if you're joining us for the first time or the 75th time, the premise of this podcast is we are 3 professional photographers who know a little bit about photography, and we like to share our thoughts. But even more, we like to get together and have some drinks.
drinky drinks.
And the longer the show goes, the less words we're able to use. And along
But
the
the
way,
smarter
we get
we-
some knowledge.
But the smarter we sound, yes.
That's right.
So stay tuned.
We're damn near Einstein by the end of the show.
we talk much
And every
better.
week we try to have a topic, and sometimes we keep to the topic. And this week's topic is what is
You
it?
just got that new camera. What do you do with it?
What do you
You're
do?
new to photography. What are their top things you need to know?
Everybody, all your friends and family say, hey, you have a good eye. You should be a photographer. And now you are.
No.
What do you do?
No, hey, you got a nice camera. Will you do my wedding?
Yeah.
Or you get invited to a lot of events and weddings because you have a camera and they
Can you bring
realize
your camera?
you're there to work. Yeah.
All of a sudden, you have more friends than you did before.
And just know that in the next year or two, you're going to probably lose most of those friends as you get better and decide to start charging for
Charging.
things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, as you should.
All kinds. We all started very similar. You know, we all start in similar ways. The question is, what are the best ways to get started in this industry? And actually, one of the first things I'll throw out is really think about is if you want to do this as a living, because there's a lot of knowledge you have to gain. I'm still learning. I've been doing this for 25 years. I'm still learning. A lot of business stuff you need to know. There's a lot of marketing stuff you need to know. So really ask the question, is this something you really want to get into? Because having photography as a hobby is a really nice hobby. Having it as a business ruins your hobby. Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And one thing that let's say I'm photographing a senior and someone's like, oh, they're interested in photography. What tips can you give them? The thing I give, especially someone younger, is go to school for business and learn photography, because as we know, and we've probably talked about this several times on the podcast, is if you have a really good business, your photography can be just so-so. But if you're super creative and super artistic, but your business sucks, you're not going to make money. So you're better off having a solid business, and the creative and the photography and everything will follow and you'll survive. So get the foundation for business. One of my tips for younger, and even if you're, if you're a little bit older, you know a little bit more about that. Or maybe another good tip is like I worked in the service industry a lot, being a bartender and things. It's like customer service and how to communicate, and photography is a lot about communication. Work under pressure. Yep. Remembering a bunch of things, handling multiple things at once. It's like I worked at a martini bar, so you'd have a bachelorette party come in and it's like, I'll have a, well, I won't say all the names. Well, I'll say the
Cosmos.
names. Yeah. Well, that's easy. But it was, I'll have a Cosmo, a Dirty Girl Scout, a chocolate martini, a regular martini, a Captain
Squirrel.
and Coke. Yeah. Red Squirrel. Yeah. It's like, oh, I got to fire up the blender. Pink Squirrel. Yeah. It's like, oh, shoot. And then each pays separately. So it's like, then you got to make change for each one separately. It's like, whew. That's a lot. It's a lot.
It is.
Actually, that's a good question for this topic. Throw this out there. What was the best job other than photography that helped you be a photographer? Maybe something from high school or even before this. What not school, not education, but what job helped you the most to be where you are now?
I think I was never a bartender. I always wanted to be a bartender, but it just never jived.
I played one on TV, so
Yeah, never played one on TV.
Norm.
But I do think bartending is one of the best based jobs, or waitressing.
Yeah,
is one of the best based jobs to learn all the things Dan was just talking about. Customer service, working under deadline, keeping people happy,
different personalities,
you
have to deal with it. Yeah,
communicating. For me, it was probably mostly working at an ad agency, because working under incredible pressure and deadlines, and even having to work with teams and being collaborating with people, but also probably more so dealing with clients with unrealistic expectations. And you get that a lot in photography. You get that a lot when you work in an ad agency too.
Yeah,
because it's like make the logo bigger is always one of the jokes from the graphic design side. So what's the equivalent in photography? It's like, can I have a big 8x10? I guess, I don't know, something like that. Yeah. Of my 25-person family.
Absolutely.
I was a lifeguard and a water safety instructor, and you had to keep an eye on a lot of people all at once when they're scattered across the pool, and so I think that actually helps a lot when I'm photographing families. And like today was a prime example. This afternoon, we had grandma with dementia. I'm trying to watch her, and I'm watching the baby. I'm watching mom watch the baby, and I'm watching mom watch the grandma that was watching the baby instead of looking at me, and tell Mike, you still got to put your hand back where I told you in the first place, and grandma, your ring just turned again. But to be able to keep an eye on a lot of things all at the same time, and be detail oriented with that in the back of your mind. I think that job really helped out a lot. And I think right there, a very close second was when I was pouring concrete. It had nothing to do with photography, but it taught me that I didn't want to pour concrete.
I thought it taught you how to better hide the bodies.
Well, I do. Yeah, no, we don't. We found out we don't want to do this for a living. We want to. It's a lot easier lifting a camera than pushing concrete.
Yes. Well, that's an excellent point. There's two other jobs I had that prepared me for photography as well. The first one in high school is I worked at the Piggly Wiggly, and I bagged groceries. And so you have the little ladies, don't squash my bread, and we bagged them, and then we took them out and also loaded them into the car. So you had to have good people skills. And at 16 years old, when I started making $2.90 an hour, which I thought was amazing. I got paid like every 2 weeks. It was great. But you learn a lot about dealing with different personalities, and no matter how cranky someone was, like, thank you, have a great day, kind of stuff. And so that was, and then I also, probably when I was 19 years old, I took over my brother's mobile DJ business. So I was in bars, and I was booking weddings. I was booking bars. I was booking retirement parties and showing up and setting up the speakers. And in fact, I was just talking to my brother about it at deer hunting. Yeah, all the albums and the CDs and everything. Now I go somewhere, it's like they have their laptop, their little LED lights, and what song you want. And if you don't have the song, you're just like, click it in, boom, 99 cents or $1.20. You have the song. Like I had to buy the whole album, the whole CD. I had to go to Sam Goody and pay $25, even though we knew Vanilla Ice was only going to have the one-hit wonder. You had to buy the whole Vanilla Ice CD. And CDs were awesome when they came out.
Vanilla Ice.
Dun, 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 dun.
Thank God for classic rock, where you could get the greatest hits album.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, right?
Doobie Brothers. I've got the whole greatest hits.
They broke
so
up?
yeah,
Really? Dude,
they broke up. Or for a while they came out with the cassette singles. Remember those? The singles or cassette singles?
Yes.
Yes. Or the 45s. Where you could get those.
Yep.
No, the first 45 I bought was Joan Jett, I believe. Hit Me With Your Best Shot, I think. Yes. I'm really dating myself now, right?
I saw her on that concert tour. Jeez. I was only 17. There's a whole story about that, but we won't talk about that today.
So anyway,
yeah.
First 45 I ever bought. First 45 I ever bought my own money. Nice. ABC by the Jackson 5.
Ooh.
Oh my.
Yeah. Nice one.
Yeah, and
you probably wish you had that.
I still have it.
Ooh, you still have it?
I still have it. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow, that's worth money.
I can still picture it.
Everyone's going back
probably
to
like 75 cents.
The audio files are back to the old records and vinyl. It has that deep.
They're back to the albums. I don't think they're back to the 45s.
Probably not.
Remember the what is it? The 33s that were like as thick as like plates.
We cleared out my grandparents' place, and my uncle's old albums were all in there. Oh my gosh. I wish they were in better shape. They were just so trash, but otherwise it could have been a lot of fun to get back into that vibe again. That would have been pretty cool. Mm-hmm. But a lot of Beach Boys stuff, from like original release stuff, and there was Beatles stuff was in there, Monkeys.
All the Beatles stuff would be worth money. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dolly Parton Christmas.
Trashed. There you go.
So yeah, but back to the topic.
Yeah.
What other things for newbies?
People, training.
Newbie.
Other than a job, I think when you said about, what do the seniors ask, or what do you tell seniors? I tell them, other than business, take drama class, take speech class, learn how to communicate with people, learn how to read into people.
And deal with drama?
Never. And then also learn how to play poker. I know it sounds really stupid, but the more you can learn about reading into people quickly, the better you're going to be at giving them something that they want, not something that you just wanted to create. So it's not, we don't always be able to head the same direction with everybody that comes through the door. Learn who they are and what they really want. Learn as much about them without verbal communication that you can, so that you can give them what they want. Because people that get what they want buy more.
Yes. And tied right into that, learn how to listen and talk less. The less you talk, the more you listen, the more you can do what Carl was just talking about. Because then you get people to talk about themselves, you learn more about them, they feel more comfortable, you start to build a relationship with them, they feel like you care about them, even if you don't. I mean, I just pretend to listen. But anyway, you listen.
What, were you saying something? What were you talking about?
Blah, 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 blah.
It's Michael.
Buy MoLight gear.
Can we make that logo bigger?
Those listening to the podcast could see that just showing the logo on my sweatshirt.
Show logo, yes, yeah.
Well, if you're not watching this, you can just go to YouTube.
That's right.
Yes. Like and subscribe.
And you can watch us and listen at the same time.
If you want to see what we look like, I'm not sure why, go to youtube.com/photo happy hour, and that's where you can find us.
And
Nice.
this week, just saying, go blue. Okay, sorry. It would have been nicer if they would have been playing Wisconsin.
Yeah, it kind
In
of
the Big
freed up my
Ten
Saturday.
Yeah,
But Iowa.
that's true.
well.
But you bring up a good point, Michael. My sister used to say God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. But so I try and keep that in mind every time I'm trying to speak. Like, wait, no, just listen to what they're saying.
I got a follow up to that after the podcast, but never mind. Dan's going, what is? Never mind.
Never mind. So
this is a bane of my existence,
Okay.
and I'll get a lot of argument on this, but damn it, I'm going to soapbox it. There's a philosophy in our business, as long as I've been a pro and even starting to become a pro, to have what? Backup gear.
Ooh.
Right?
Yes.
I shot my first wedding. This was it was a comment in some forum the last week or so. I shot my first wedding in 1995. And you know what I took with me? I took 3 cameras. I had a Mamiya 645 1000S. Actually, I didn't even have a Pro then. I had a 1000S. I had a Canon Elan 2E and a Minolta X700 film camera. Okay, 2 film cameras. Well, all three were filmed. I could think about it. So I had 3 cameras, and I did that. Why? In case something broke, something didn't work. There are 3 different camera brands, even. But that was the first wedding I ever shot, and it was the first professional gig I ever did. I just can't fathom all these people, newer people who are doing a wedding when they've got 1 camera, 1 lens. I've seen where some people were looking for a new photographer because their wedding photographer's lens broke, and they can't do the wedding now.
Yep.
Their lens.
I hope
broke.
it didn't break while they were on another wedding.
It's possible.
But they do. I've seen that.
iPhone doesn't count as a backup camera, right?
Evidently not. But I get that sometimes for doing repairs, because I'll get repairs from people all over the country for Godok's gear. And not even stuff that they bought from me. They bought it from some other place. Who knows? And they'll say, can you get this back to me right away? Because I need this for some sessions. And I'm like, well, it's got to go into the queue. I've got other work ahead of yours. I mean, it's going to be done in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever. Oh, I really need it for this weekend. Use your other flash. Well, I don't have any other flash.
Yeah,
Really?
You can't work that way.
What if this broke at the session? What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's
money, but you know what? You got
it
to make the
sucks.
investment.
At least with lights,
It does.
like you can use them in multiple ways. What if I have two cameras, it kind of sucks that camera is sitting there for insurance only, or, you can rent things. So, if you are doing, let's say you only have a few weddings and you're not priced appropriately or you're getting into business. Well, when you do have that wedding, you rent a camera. It's inexpensive. Have it for that weekend, while you're shooting that wedding, just for backup. I mean, it's like, figure that into your pricing at the very least, because as a professional, you need to have backup equipment. I agree.
Just on that too, make sure that if you do rent something, rent the same kind or something that you're comfortable with. Don't rent something that you've never used before, and you get to a session or a wedding, and you're sitting there fumbling around with it, trying to figure it out, the new menu or whatever. It looks bad. It keeps you from doing your job. It creates tension, and tension does not make for nice portraits.
Well, and tagging into that, never take brand new gear to a session or a wedding. I mean, test it out first. I mean, even
sleep
if it's
with it under your pillow to get up and just look at it for a while, and
if it's photographing a mannequin in your studio or your house, if you don't have studio space, get to know the gear before you take it out and you're in front of people and using it, because I guarantee you something's going to throw you for a loop.
Yeah. Or do like what I did for my first wedding, is I hired Carl Kaler to come along with me. So if anything went haywire, I had a backup professional, not just a backup equipment. I had a backup professional.
Right.
By the way, I was cleaning out the office here and putting shelves in, and I think I took a picture of it. But yeah, bunch of old notes and tablets and loan books and everything. It's like Tree Haven 2006, Carl Kaler, Mary Mortensen. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's too funny.
Yeah. So
That was
crazy.
2006. Holy crap!
It was 2006. Was written right on the notepad. So yeah.
Getting old.
Yeah.
And we haven't talked about this yet. We kind of.
Go ahead. No, I was just gonna say the notes, and I of course had to look at the notes, and it was like the rhythm of light. I'm like, yes.
Yes, you remember you wrote something down good.
The milk.
Of course, I told you to.
The milk and the rhythm of light.
The milk.
Yep. And why did a painter paint the rope there? So, three main takeaways. I'll leave it at that.
Do you remember whose painting? Do you remember whose painting that was?
Mm.
It was Andrew Wyatt's painting.
Okay.
just testing you.
No, that part I don't remember.
Michael, you had something.
Yes.
We kind of danced around this a little bit because we're talking about business and marketing stuff, but a big bugaboo. There's your big word, bugaboo. For a lot of newer photographers is pricing. I mean, what's one of the things that we're always chanting is you need to raise your prices. You need to raise your prices. I mean, we've said this last few podcasts that with inflation increasing the cost of everything that you're buying is costing more, so you need to raise your prices. Otherwise, you're making less money
or no money.
Or no money.
If you actually figure everything out, yeah.
Yeah, and I used to do this for my students at the technical college. I would run through, if you did a wedding for, I think I even just used $1,000 and then went through all the costs. I mean, like everything, like if you hired a friend, you rented a camera because you only had one, all these things and all the costs of like storage and all, it's like how much you ended up making and how much time it took. You made less than, I think what I figured out was you made $8 an hour. So you could make more working at McDonald's.
Right.
What's that?
McDonald's is paying $15
an
hour with a $1,200 sign-on bonus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and let's dive deeper into this subject. This could be a whole new podcast, but I think a lot of people, I know a lot of people just starting out feel like they can't charge a lot because they don't have the confidence, B, feel like they're looking at comparing to everyone else and say, well, I'm not that good yet, therefore I don't need to charge, I can't charge that. So it's that weird creative hurdle that a lot of especially creatives face, is because it's like, well, I'm not good enough yet. And and some people get over that hurdle, but some people still kind of get stuck that way. So how do people get over that hurdle of, well, I'm not good enough, or what if I just want to give a few free sessions out because I'm still learning? You'll hear that a lot as well. So what's your take on that?
That's actually, I mean, that's my take on that is when you're just starting off, do them for free. Say, you know, at some certain point, I'm going to start to charge for these, but know in your mind that you're going to charge real money and have a solid basis for why you're charging what you're charging. And that means understanding all your costs and what you need to make and all that kind of stuff. So, what Dan's doing.
I lost my
You hear a lot of
power.
fumbling, I think.
Yes. My power cord came out here. It's a mess. There we go.
Started to do a dance in there. So anyway, understand all your costs, understand what you need to make. I mean, that's the business part of it. That's the accounting part of it, which is really important. Otherwise, you do all this stuff and you don't make any money, and you don't know why you didn't make any money. Well, understand all that, but know that going in and know what you need to charge for that stuff. But there's nothing wrong with giving away for free to start off with. What's the problem is that you start off and doing $100 in a disc is always obviously $50 in a disc. $50 mini sessions and you get 24 edited images. I saw this recently, like this last week. It was $50 for a mini session, 2 looks, and you got 24 edited images. Why? You know, if you just like to be busy and not make any money, sure, but there's no money there. You can't make it up in volume.
And I think a lot of people too, they started as a hobby, like you mentioned before, and they have a full-time job and they have benefits. So they're like, oh, if I can shoot on a weekend and make an extra couple $100, I'm just shooting and burning. Not really. It's like, oh, that's not bad. Or like, yeah, that's $100 an hour. They look at it. It's not really. But that's kind of the mindset and feel like it's
not an hour.
It's not. But that's where, like you said, kind of diving in deeper. Or what I always say is, if you have a full-time job, you're not relying on that. Heck, your prices should be outrageous because you're not relying on that. Like, I feel like we as full-time photographers should stress out more about pricing because guess what? Okay, my senior season's done. I'm wiping the slate of 2022 seniors, and now I got to start fresh and clean with 2023. You know, it's not like there's that much repeat clients. There's not like I got to go out and hit it hard, you know, again to like build that back up and book seniors and make enough again because we're seasonal to make it through the winter. So that's a lot more stressful. If I had a full-time job, it'd be like, okay, $5,000 per session. Book me, yeah. Don't book me.
Book me or don't, but
yeah. Not to mention
worthwhile. Yeah.
As we all know too, not the higher your price, but yeah, like the more you charge, the less picky your clients are. They're like, yeah, I trust you. Do whatever. Right. You know. Right. You know, and the work has to reflect that too. But ultimately, I see a lot of people that I mentor, and they're undervaluing themselves, and they're like, what if I lose client? I'm like, you will lose some people, but guess what? Those people didn't appreciate you then. They're just taking advantage of you because they see what you're doing. And if you raise your prices, they'll be like, yep, I still, you know, a restaurant raises their prices and you're like, yep, they still have good quality food. I'm still going to use them. If I don't, well, then they weren't really that valuable to you in the first place.
You do the numbers and it's like you could have, like seniors is a great example. A lot of people, you know, they have a $500 average. If you could raise the price where that 500 becomes 2,000 for the same work, the same work, so the same size portrait, same album, whatever, you could work with one customer versus 4,
right? And
you're going to make more profit
and work less
for less work.
Yeah,
1/4 of the work.
Right.
That's got to be the enticement to raise the prices right there. Anybody who's like, I'm stressing out because I got too much work and I'm working 2:00 in the morning retouching and all this kind of stuff.
Well, then
raise your prices.
Stop giving it away.
Raise your prices. That's the number one answer. Raise your prices because it'll.
Would you like to win the lottery?
As much, if not more.
That's the thing. Do you want to win the lottery? sure, who wouldn't want to win the lottery? Would you rather win the lottery when it's $100 or $1 million? Given all things equal, you just won the lottery. What would you rather have? Would you be happy with 1,000, or would you find out that, hey, I could have gotten $1 million?
Right.
Win the lottery. So set your prices where they belong.
Be your own lottery.
I have a unique. I have a unique point of view on that as well. As I don't put my session fees out there for everyone, so my session fees fluctuate just like gas fluctuates, right? Supply and
Market
demand.
price.
Market
Price.
Just like the
market
lobster.
price.
It's like Chilean
the
sea bass.
Fish fry. We're talking Wisconsin fish fry here. It's market price. It's like lobster.
Angle, eh?
Like the lobster, eh? And so, yeah, my sessions start out low. As I start to book, those session fees go up. So the portrait pricing stays the same, but you can fluctuate your session fee, and everyone feels like, oh, I can't do that, or it's printed. Well, don't get it printed.
Don't print it.
Don't print it.
That's an easy one, isn't it? Don't print it.
Don't print it.
Simple.
Especially for me with my grammar and typing, I definitely don't print things. It's like everything's PDF, so it can be revised, and that's not to say that I'm going to raise my pricing. Session fees I do, and it's no different than Kohl's. There's Kohl's Cash, there's Black Friday deals, there's everything. Everyone standing in line might have the same object, and everything combined.
They're going to pay different prices. Everyone.
They're going to pay different prices. But as a creative person or as a small business owner, we're like, oh, we can't do that. That's, I feel like it's not fair.
It's not fair.
Yeah, it's not fair.
I would love to cull my images. So go through your images that you just created of this senior, let's say. Pick out the ones that you know are the best, and they're all priced at this tier.
Right.
And then these average ones are going to be priced here, and then these other ones. So the ones we know they want. Oh,
I love it.
You can have all these. Yeah. I mean, did you guys ever watch Mr. Megorium's Wonderful Emporium, or Mr. How is it? I can't think if that's the exact title of it, but Dustin Hoffman, freaking awesome. But he owned a toy store which was magical, and he decided that he was dying. And he hired an accountant, a mutant, to do the books to figure out what the store is worth, because he was going to give it to his protege. But he was going to start the slate clean. And some lady came in to buy a mobile of his fish. I want to buy this mobile, and it had the fish were like swimming for real. He's like, well, how much is that mobile? And he's like, well, that mobile is whatever it was, $75, whatever. And she's like, really, that much? That's pretty expensive. He goes, well, you can have this mobile too, but the fish aren't the same. And he held it up, and it was all like skeletons. It's still a fish mobile, but if you want to pay for the one that you want, that's what it costs. Mm-hmm. It's not what it costs, it's what it's worth. Right.
That's the classic. Right. Dollar bill's the same size as a $100 bill. So
it's what's printed on it.
We talk about pricing a lot in this podcast.
What's printed on it.
I think I'm going to raise my prices.
Oh, I am.
There you go.
I'm raising my prices.
I had a family. Did you guys try shipping something this week? I did. Holy crap! $85 to ship a package out to, where is it? New Hampshire. Or, speaking of which, I get paid by that guy yet. It's insane.
I shipped 24 packages yesterday. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
We got to raise our prices, because I can't drop ship stuff to people anymore without charging way more for shipping, because it's going to eat up all the profits.
Mm-hmm.
Nuts.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I like that concept though, Carl. That's interesting, because it's like, you've been doing this long enough, which ones are the wow images. Like, oh yeah, this is this is gonna be more. And similar to like when I do my montages, like I charge a design fee, but and that has a twofold, actually probably more than twofold, but several different reasons for it. One, it takes me longer. Two, once people commit extra money, they're going to buy a portrait because they've already put money into the design part of it, and then
Right.
the other thing is like, it is not only that, it's like, there's something magical about it because there's extra work put into it. So people like, once they sign up for it, it's a no-brainer that they're going to buy it. In fact, sometimes when they don't do it, I'll do it anyways, because once they see it, they're going to buy it. So
It's
Yeah.
a
Something-
handcrafted, custom-made piece of art for them, so
Yeah,
nobody else is getting that.
the artist choice.
Yep.
Well, that's something I
I
did
used-
for kids. Do the.
you'd actually print it when they came in, right?
Oh, I actually
Have it
printed
pre-printed. Yeah,
We're waiting for.
that's
them.
awesome. Yep.
I mean, people build houses on spec. Why can't we sell prints on spec?
Well, that's what.
But-
Oh heck, I can't think of her name now. Huge Sue Bryce. That's what Sue Bryce
Sue Bryce,
does.
yeah.
I mean, that's they do these beauty sessions of women, and that's what she teaches. Like, you make 30 8x10s and put them into mats, and you put them on the shelf, like these
I
like
think she does
shelf.
5.7s, but yeah,
Yeah, nah, not they were
I
bigger.
don't remember. I don't remember.
Yeah,
I think they're
bigger.
yeah,
They're 8x10s
yeah.
at least.
They might be
and
larger than
people
8 by
come in
10.
and view them, and they might be 11 by 14 even. But they
Yeah.
come in and view them, and once you see them printed and they're a nice museum mat, it's
In
like
your hands.
it's hard to say no. So a lot of them will buy all 30 of them. You put them into one of those nice
Boxes.
3XM boxes. You're talking $2,500, $3,000 minimum
Yeah,
for that.
and you have to, because those boxes are a little bit pricey too. But they're
Oh,
worth
they're
it.
gorgeous,
They're
though.
awesome.
Yeah.
But you got to add it into your pricing.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I gave Brianna for our first grandson. I gave her a 3XM box, and then that's where we're putting all the newborn and maternity photos into. And she's running.
We gotta get him on the podcast.
Who's that?
The kid.
Oh,
Ronan
Ronan?
Weil. Yeah,
Oh,
we gotta get
Ronan.
him on. He'd be great. Yeah.
A little time difference, but yeah, we might have to.
Yeah.
We might have to drink earlier.
He's probably still drinking when we're just waking up. It'll be fine.
Exactly.
That's true.
Actually, that would be. We should. We totally gotta get.
Yeah. Actually, Ronan would be a great guy to put on.
Good guess. Yeah.
Good
he's a
business.
great business mind, a great teacher. So
Great
yeah.
product.
Yeah, I
Great
can reach out to him
accent.
and see if he wants to do it sometime. The great
Sounds
accent.
funny.
Yeah.
Great accent.
So for those of
He
you
has an
who don't know what we're talking about Ronan Ryle, who owns 3XM, which is an Irish company, and they make these gorgeous presentation boxes with mats, and they make other stuff too, but just the best I've seen in the industry.
Absolutely.
Great customer service too.
I'm looking at my notes here. I actually took some notes. First.
Well, while you're looking at your notes, let's take a quick break, and we'll hear a little bit more from our sponsor. And we're back.
Oh man.
So I was gonna.
So you had all that
Yes.
time to look at your notes. What did you find, Dan?
Well, what I found is when I was mentoring someone that was new, which kind of came up with this topic because we're so used to doing this for so long, we maybe sometimes forget about some of the newbie things that we take for granted. And some of these questions, I'm like, ooh, yeah, those are good questions. But like even things like Lightroom or Photoshop. Do I do Lightroom? Do I do Photoshop? And
Oh yeah.
if I was starting new, I kind of pointed them in a direction of Lightroom. Like, you can do an awful lot of things. It's much more intuitive and easier to learn. You can even do, retouching, or I said, you know what, don't even worry about retouching, outsource it, which we've talked about several times on this podcast.
Right.
But, you can import your files, easy sliders to adjust color, exposure. It's a much easier software to tackle than Photoshop, where you get in and it's kind of like, oh, there's all these
Rabbit hole.
tools and menus and well, how do I learn something, and I think that's what holds a lot of people back, going back to price and shoot and burn. When you get a camera, you're excited, you do photography, right? Well, then we got to think about the business end. It's like printing product. Oh gosh, cropping and color correcting and working with a lab and mounting and what products are popular. Like, there's so many questions, and then just even get into the software to edit. So I think that's another reason why people are just like, I'm just going to shoot it, transfer it all, and throw it on a disc for you, because it's it's easier. But if you can learn
that's
some
a
of
good
these
segue.
other simple things, that's where your pricing can easily jump 3, 4, 5 times.
And your profit.
Right? And your profit.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So how do new people learn about all that? You're not going to learn about it by yourself sitting there in front of your computer. That's when I say join an association. Meet every month in your local area, or a region a little farther away. Who knows? But there's professional photography groups all over the place that you can bounce these ideas off like-minded people that are doing what you want to do. You can gain a lot of education, a lot of beneficial things to your business and your craft from other people in this industry. So don't waste that opportunity.
Yeah, and like I mentioned before, like the first thing I did was take week-long school with Carl Kaler. There's week-long schools all over. Hire a mentor, online education. There's so many different avenues, and I do online education as more for the advanced photographer. I've dabbled on doing intro stuff, but it's very difficult to get into because there's things that are just like, there's so many things we forget that we take for granted, like I mentioned earlier. So, and there's a lot of courses out there, free courses even, where you can learn the basics. And then when you want to get more advanced and kind of, reach out or take different schooling or conferences or join local, like you said, groups, shoot up groups, just watching someone else work is amazing. You learn so much.
Invest in your education. Did you guys
Invest
see
in
commercials? We've been on Hulu lately, and I don't know, so I'm not sure if it's on the other channels, but during the college football games, they talk about, there's 2 different like online courses or like after-hour courses or classes, whatever. One of them said you can get your degree in 18 months for $18,000. And I thought, that's interesting. Well, then the next week, there's another commercial out there, 14 weeks for $14,000. So it's less money and less time.
I can do that in 10 weeks for $10,000. Well, which
cracked up.
reminds me of a conversation I had with my son. My son came back home from college for Thanksgiving weekend, and he goes to UW Stout, which is a polytechnic. Polytechnic is a college that's more geared towards a little bit of hands-on, engineering, design, crafting, things like that. And although
basket weaving,
underwater, even
underwater basket
My
weaving.
dad graduated from Stout.
So I mean, and plus they have a lot of other stuff too. He's in applied social sciences, which is none of that. But he has friends that are in the graphic program and some people who are photography majors, and he was talking to me about why are people, because he knows enough about the business, he's like, why are people going to college for photography? Because that's a bad idea, isn't it, Dad? And I go, yeah, I guess I would never discourage somebody from going to college, but I would say go to college, coming back around to what Dan said earlier, go to college for business and marketing. And I said,
drama class, dude.
You take if you did an intensive with me for 2 weeks, I would teach you all that you would need to know to get started as a professional photographer.
More so than 4 years of college.
In terms of all the technical, all the lighting, all the posing, all the stuff that you really need to know as a base, I could cover in 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
Now, 2 weeks. I can do 2 weeks for $18,000. There you go.
I'll do it for 12.
Let's start something.
It's It's $18,000 a year to go there, so I'm like,
and you get a free MoLight.
Weeks.
You get a free MoLight sweatshirt to boot.
They give you a MoLight sweatshirt. Look, where it's monogrammed
maybe a
here.
T-shirt, maybe not the sweatshirt.
It's
on the sleeve too.
That's fancy.
It's a new.
I have one of those.
New era or something. So that'd be nice to me. Maybe I'll get one for Christmas. I don't know.
Ooh. You bring up an excellent point. Because a lot of people ask me, "How'd you learn? Did you go to college?" I'm like, I studied with other photographers. Like, I learned so much. Same thing with Photoshop. Like, I was in graphic design. I use Photoshop completely different than what I use Photoshop now for photography. It's and it's amazing how Photoshop can be used in different industries in so many different ways.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I worked in the CMYK color space and did color adjusting and minimum dot and 4-color process. Like all things are like, what? And in photography is RGB.
Let's talk about halftones.
Let's talk about halftones. Yes. Yeah. Let's talk about mezzotint. Let's talk about trigonometry with repeat and plate distortion. Like what? This guy's going off the edge, but yeah.
Let's talk about flexography.
Flexography. That's it. That's plate distortion. Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. Michael does all these things. So yeah. So it's
I've designed packaging. That's fun.
And it's different. Yeah, it's different. It's different DPI. It's not PPI. It's different DPI per, like you said, halftone, mezzotint. Dots down. It's different for 100 lines per inch or 250 lines per inch, which is offset compared to flexography, which is like, we can get up to 80 pixels per inch or dots per inch. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, was it 80 or 83 or something?
When I started, it was something like 50 or 80. Yeah, and then we got up higher with the new technology. But yeah, it was interesting. So yeah, that's my printing graphic background coming out there, which I still look at stuff and be like, the trapping is off on this. Who did this?
Should we take it even further and how you actually got 4 colors? You'd lay down the yellow, you'd lay down the magenta, you'd lay down the cyan, and then you'd lay down the black. And if any of those were just slightly shifted,
yeah.
I remember
not only that,
like that, trying to make a 4-color separation in that stupid little lab with equipment that wasn't meant for it. And oh gosh.
Yep. And then you had to do. We
used to go cheap and do 4-color printing on 2-color printers.
2-color printers. Run it through twice. Yeah.
Yeah, run it through twice, literally. Yeah.
Well, we would calibrate the presses because similar to monitors, every press had different dot gain, which meant as it printed, the dots would expand and the colors would expand, which would throw the color off. And so you'd calibrate it, and then you'd have to cut back. So you'd have to then run it through and take it down a little bit, and then you'd even, like we found out, I think it was the magenta plate, the magenta ink would spread even more. Would gain even more, so you'd have to do a separate magenta cutback so that when it printed, it would go back to actual color representation. Yeah.
You do a press check, and they'd run some, and some of those presses ran so fast, so you put the on button, off button, they ran 100 copies.
Right.
So come on, bring it over. You'd look under the loop.
Throw it away.
Put the densitometer on it, and put the reading on it. Oh, yeah.
Right.
It was... People have no idea what goes into printing.
What goes into printing?
Yeah,
so much.
And we think photography is hard.
You're right.
So much better.
Maybe that's why we take some of this stuff for granted. It's like, we've done it the hard way.
Or you get a call at 3 a.m. because the press is down, and the magenta plate broke, and they need a new plate. We have to go in and burn a new magenta plate
Or you'd have to go and do the press check at 3 o'clock in the morning, and so you wake up and you're like, still blurry, and you're like, does this look good? And you're like,
sure.
Looks good to me.
Yeah.
I'm still drawing.
Run it.
I don't know. Run it.
Stop the presses. Stop the presses.
Oh, that's a good tangent. Yeah.
People
have
no idea what we're talking about
anymore.
All right.
I think we end on that tangent.
Right? I think we end on that too. Before
multiple
we have
sets of equipment. What did we learn today?
Yeah.
Have multiple sets of equipment. Charge enough.
Multiple sets of charge enough. Get skilled with it. Learn everything. Find a mentor. Join the associations.
Learn from other people in the same
get associated rather than dissociated. All right, so today's
get a bartending job.
Get a bartending job.
It's real easy to get a bartending job right now. By the way, I thought about going back, but I have to stay up past midnight.
I'll even photograph a wedding with somebody if you want.
Yeah.
All right.
Carl will pimp himself out again.
Absolutely.
I would at most second shoot a wedding now. at most.
Second
That's if I
shooting
had
is
my
awesome now. Yeah. There's
But
no
that's
worries.
that. My requirement would be, I shoot what I shoot. I shoot it when I shoot it. I shoot how I feel
Yeah.
like. I give you what I want.
Give you the card.
And I'm using my phone to do it.
That's It felt like a little bit like De Niro there. You telling me what to do?
I'll tell you.
So our cocktail is the Aviation, brought to you by Aviation Gin.
Ooh.
The ingredients are 1.5 ounces of what? Aviation American Gin, half an ounce of maraschino liqueur, half an ounce of lemon juice, a quarter ounce of simple syrup, and 1 teaspoon of creme de violette, which makes this, it's a very pretty drink. It's kind of this cool purple.
I was gonna say.
Aubergine or something,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. So your directions, and this is the classic way to make this. I mean, all this other, do this separately, separate this and put this over in the room. No. Combine all the ingredients in a cocktail shaker with ice, shake it, then strain it into a glass with ice. Damn it, that's
Done.
the way you make a frickin' cocktail.
That's right.
Garnish with a brandied cherry and drink up, Johnny.
What
Merry
if you're not
Christmas.
Johnny?
There's your cocktail.
All right.
Did you say a branded cherry?
Brandied cherry.
Oh, brandy cherry. Okay.
Brandy,
Yeah.
With an I.
Yeah, a branded cherry with the MoLight logo on it.
That's what I was wondering. I'm like, interesting.
And, of course, the Photo Happy Hour has been sponsored in part by Red Curl Creative copywriting services for photographers and wedding professionals. Learn more at redcurlcreative.com or writebetterwords.com. All right.
Good
She's
advice.
still sponsoring us?
I guess. I don't know. She sent us money. Anybody
Keep sending us
basically
money.
anybody PayPal's me some money, I'll talk about them all the time. I'm talking to you. I'm looking right at you, Ryan Reynolds.
I'm looking at you, right.
I don't know if Carl saw this, but I tagged them. I actually made the cocktail from Thanksgiving, the cranberry gin and tonic, and I tagged Aviation Gin and tagged Ryan Reynolds. Aviation Gin liked it already. Haven't heard from Van City Reynolds yet, so
We're working on that.
yeah.
Nice.
Don't
All
be
right.
coy with me, Ryan Reynolds.
I'm gonna download a whole bunch of files from a newborn session.
Woohoo.
Yay!
All right, cheers. Good night.
Cheers, everybody. I'm gonna
Cheers.
get my drink first, then I'm gonna download.
Hold up a pretend drink. Cheers to you guys.
Ding, ding.
Clink.
You don't know the power of this podcast. You must obey me and subscribe. When I first started listening, I was but the learner. Now I am the master. Subscribe now. It is useless to resist.